Let's return to politics now. I'm chatting with the Labor MP, Matt Keogh, who's with us live from Perth, and the Liberal MP, Jason Falinski, who's live from Sydney. Let's have a look at the Tasmanian Liberal State Council today. We have seen that this morning they've unanimously called on Section 18C to be amended. The Liberal Senator, Erica Betts, had something to say about this earlier today. Let's have a listen.
I think a parliamentary inquiry is definitely needed. I personally would like to see Section 18C amended quick smart whilst the parliamentary inquiry is going on. Having said that, the whole administration of the Human Rights Commission and the Racial Discrimination Act clearly needs to be looked at. It is not working in a manner that is acceptable to the Australian people, so I think this review would be more than welcome.
Jason Falinski, it seems that every day we see another Liberal getting up to push for this sort of change. If it is so important to the Liberal Party, why is Malcolm Turnbull seeming to drag his heels on this issue? Surely it's time for the Prime Minister to act if it is such a crucial matter, as we keep hearing from your colleagues.
Well, look, Ashleigh, I think that we, all of us, owe those brave students from Queensland University a debt of honour. It would have been easy for them just to pay the $5,000 payoff for this matter to go away, but they decided to put their lives on hold, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars defending themselves in front of the court. And what Erica Betts just said then is, I think, quite right, that it is not necessarily the law that is wrong, but the way that the law is being applied. Gillon, Triggs and the Human Rights Commission breached their statutory obligation to inform all of the people involved in this matter that there was very little prospect of success. Instead, this has dragged on. It has been persecution by the law. Malcolm Turnbull has, I think, been very good on this matter as Prime Minister. He has listened to everyone concerned. He has expressed, I think, both sides of the debate on this, and he has taken on board Dean Smith's suggestion, and he is looking very closely at a parliamentary inquiry. And I think Dean Smith's suggestion has a lot of merit, because there are a lot of laws and restrictions on speech, and it is important that we look at this particular piece of legislation as part of the totality and a systematic review of all the laws and regulations we have on speech and how they get applied. And so a calm, cool and collected assessment of that is important here, not a rush to judgment.
Matt Keogh, would you agree that the case involving those Queensland uni students that Jason was just speaking about there, and also the row over the Bill Leak cartoon lately, proves this point that change is needed in this area? A lot of Australians, of course, hold dear this need and right for freedom of speech and feel that their freedom is being inhibited unfairly by the current Racial Discrimination Act.
Actually, what's happening here is that the Liberals, or some Liberals, are creating quite a scare campaign by misleading the public. What we've seen with the case with the students at QUT is actually an example of how the law works properly. The case was dismissed. There's been many cases that have been held up as examples of a problem with 18C and 18D saying, oh, we've got to change that law. When those cases are being dismissed, the law is working properly. There may be some issues around how long it takes to get proceedings through the courts, or whether the Human Rights Commission needs to look at making sure it provides proper notification to people where complaints have been made. The same can be said about QUT not notifying their own students about complaints being made. But the point here is that Section 18C and 18D in the Racial Discrimination Act itself is working precisely as it was designed to do, and what is happening is that issues around how those cases are proceeding through the courts procedurally are being held up as a reason to get rid of laws that protect us against racial vilification in this country. So I'm really concerned. You know, the Liberal Party talks about not liking the scaremongering. They are creating the scaremongering in this issue. And I call on Malcolm Turnbull, who has been clear previously, but not since his term as Prime Minister, to come out and say that 18C won't be changed. If there's going to be a parliamentary inquiry, well, you know what? I suspect that parliamentary inquiry will show that 18C and the Racial Discrimination Act is working properly and should not be changed. There may be other things procedurally that it talks about as well, but we need Malcolm Turnbull, the country needs Malcolm Turnbull to come out and make a clear gesture to the right wing of his own party to get back in their box, to stop scaremongering the Australian people, and to be clear that 18C won't be changed.
Well,
Okay, let's move on to the issue
actually-
over immigration. I just want to look at the week ahead. Okay, very quickly, Jason Falinski, and then we need to move on.
Sure. Oh, look, I was going to say, if the Labor Party thinks a law that essentially allows people to be persecuted for putting comments on Facebook is a law that
But
is
they weren't
operating
persecuted.
properly,
That's the
then
point.
They were persecuted, Matt. They were persecuted. They put 2 innocuous comments on Facebook. It has cost them $300,000 each,
That's
or
not true.
$250,000 to
That's not true,
$300,000.
Jason. The court did not
Actually,
say they were innocuous comments. The court was quite clear. It said one of those comments couldn't be proven who the author was, and that's why the case was dismissed. It didn't comment as to whether it was innocuous. The other comment it did say didn't infringe 18C. So the law worked because it said that the law wasn't infringed. There may be procedural issues around how long this process took, whether notice was given in a timely fashion. But that's not got to do with 18C and 18D of the Racial Discrimination Act.
Ashleigh, I think most Australians would find this discussion extraordinarily frustrating, that someone can describe something that ends up costing 2 students $300,000 each to defend themselves in court, a matter of procedural, matters.
No,
that
it's
need to
about
be
being
fixed.
precise,
This
Jason. It's
law
really
is
important
not
to get this
persecute
clear.
two
Look, both of you have made your points on
Bill
this.
Shorten,
I think our
needs to
viewers
stand
might
up
get
for
more
ordinary
frustrated
Australians.
that we're going around in circles here. So let's move on. We want to look at the immigration ban. The government's going to look at